Everyone, this is the webinar series for the Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Work Group of the National Water Quality Monitoring Council. Please take a moment as you are joining to connect and share with us where you are joining from. You can do that in the chat. Welcome, everyone. My name is Sylvia Lee. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a biologist at the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency based in Washington, D.C. Currently, I'm working remotely from the traditional lands of the Apalachicola in the northern part of Florida. I'm here today in my role as co-chair of the JEDI work group of the NWQMC. Also here today is Nick Martirano, who is co-hosting today's webinar and is co-chair of the JEDI work group. In just a moment, I'll be putting some links in the chat for you to check out if you'd like to learn more about the council, and stay connected with us in your preferred method of communication, such as our Facebook group, Twitter, and our email list. And the webinar recordings will be uploaded to our YouTube channel as well. And if there's time remaining after the presentation and questions for the speaker, we would love to hear from you to briefly share about your own projects or upcoming event related to JEDI and water quality. So now I want to welcome today's speaker, Veronica Tangiri, who is the Water Quality Programs Coordinator and Manager at the Prince William Soil and Water Conservation District in Prince William County of Virginia. The webinar is about water quality and community involvement, promoting earth science and water sustainability with minority groups. Veronica, thank you so much for being our speaker today, and the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. I'm Veronica Tangiri. I go with the pronoun she, her. This topic, water quality and community involvement, promoting earth science and water sustainability with minority groups, focuses on my work in Prince William County here in Virginia. The Monacan Indian Nation, also known as the Manahawak, precisely in the Potawatomi watershed, currently known as the Potomac watershed. Sharing the successes of the Prince William Soil and Water Conservation District's program during the 2021 lightning session of the 12th National Water Quality Monitoring Conference led to me being part of this JEDI group. In this working group, I learn and work on being a change person by applying new knowledge in today's fast changing environment, more especially when we talk about climate change and the sustainable management of natural resources. I have also learned that having discussions around certain topics which may appear sensitive to others can help give a better understanding, one that promotes development and social interaction in our communities. Okay, sorry about that. In this presentation, sometimes used are minority groups or underrepresented groups. As defined by Wiki, a minority group, by definition, refers to a group of people whose practices, race, religion, ethnicity, or other characteristics are fewer in numbers than the main groups of those classifications. In sociology, this is seen as a political process of ascribing ethnic and racial identities to a relationship social practice, or group that did not identify itself as such. Therefore, minority groups often arise out of the interaction of groups with a group that dominates. In this context, therefore, the word race comes in. Race has had no consensus on its precise meaning. This is necessarily the case because its meanings are not fixed by nature, but are instead dependent on a historical, social, and political context. The need to acknowledge, or the need for acknowledgement. In this working group, I have learned that as humans, we have to acknowledge ourselves, more especially as we interact in our everyday space, working and impacting the lives of others in our own little ways. I acknowledge my contributions in promoting earth science and water quality awareness in Prince William County and Northern Virginia, and having the opportunity to work in a natural environment, one which harbors the footprints of others hundreds of years before me. Acknowledging and proud of being my unique me, that others who will come after me will also see and appreciate the beauty of nature. Prince William County is a suburban county in Northern Virginia, near Washington, D.C. It is located in the Potomac watershed of the Chesapeake Bay. Looking at the urbanization rate and diversity in Prince William County, Prince William County is Virginia's second most populous county. This county saw about 80,000 new residents between 2010 and 2020. According to the 2020 United States Census, Prince William County is the most diverse county in Virginia and the 10th most diverse county in the nation, coming just behind Brooklyn, New York. As of 2020, minorities represented 62% of the county's total population, a number which steps up from 51 in 2010. In Prince William County, young people, those under the age of 18, are even more diverse than the overall population of the county, with 70% identifying themselves as non-white. The Prince William Soil and Water Conservation District's water quality program promotes water quality awareness across Prince William County, including its towns and cities. This program is aimed at promoting green community goals. And this is done through environmental education, efforts to promote STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math in the natural environment. Through community science engagement, bringing together everyone in the community, thereby promoting environmental stewardship. The data collected also promotes science and research. There are 5 programs under the Conservation District's Water Quality Program. Under the Biological Monitoring Program, there is the benthic macroinvertebrate monitoring, which has 15 active monitoring sites. You do have the E. coli monitoring, which is mainly in the town of Dumfries. There is also the chemical monitoring, which currently has 109 monitoring sites, where data is collected on pH, conductivity, dissolved oxygen, turbidity, and temperature. The benthic macroinvertebrate data goes to the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality through the Virginia Save Our Streams program of the Isaac Walton League of America. The chemical data goes to the Department of Environmental Quality through the Chesapeake Bay Monitoring Cooperative database. This data also serves as an MS4 permit requirement, and MS4 here stands for Municipal Separate Storm Sewage System, more especially for the town of Dumfries and the city of Manassas. This program also supports 2 leader monitoring programs: the Floatable Monitoring Program, which is a requirement for the county's MS4 permit, the Adopt the Stream, Pond, River Program, which has close to 70 adopted sites. And these sites have been adopted by individuals, families, environmental groups, environmental organizations, school ecological clubs, scout troops, corporate organization, and other social groups. This program is reported as a delivery to the county, and this data also is shared with the Clean Virginia Waterways program of the Longwood University and the Ocean Conservancy through the Swell app. Looking at the Environmental Protection Agency's EJ screen, an environmental justice mapping and screening tool that provides EPA with a national consistent data set and approach for combining environmental and demographic indicators, we can see that in Prince William County, the colored areas in red, orange, and yellow have been identified as areas with high national percentile with regards to its socioeconomic indicators. And this data is referring to people of color. Comparing this map to that of the Prince William Water, Soil, and Conservation District Monitoring Program, we can find some relationship with the location of monitoring sites. It is worth noting that the district's biological monitoring program that monitors for benthic macroinvertebrates was established in 2015. It currently has 15 monitoring sites, but with the increasing in development, the diversity in the benthic macroinvertebrate population is dwindling. And while we introduced the chemical monitoring program, which started just in 2020 and currently has over 100 sites and precisely 109 monitoring sites that supports data across Prince William County. Because our chemical monitoring program uses the professional YSI monitoring probe, which is very expensive, the program recently got its second probe, and there is need to increase the number of probes following volunteers' interest in the program. Looking in the Manassas city area, which shows a high socioeconomic national percentile and also a diversity in population, there is low benthic macroinvertebrate population because of this increase in population or build-up areas. And that is why on the chemical monitoring map, you can see that the number of monitoring sites are concentrated in the Manassas area. And this is the Manassas area here on the EJ screen. And you can see the same trend. This is the Woodbridge area. And you can see the same trend growing in chemical monitoring sites in the Woodbridge area because of its increasing population, as shown by the EJ screen map. Looking at water quality monitoring data report for 2021, regardless of the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic, the water quality program registered 140 volunteers who put in over 500 hours in monitoring water quality. This recorded over 300 data entries for both the chemical and the biological monitoring programs in Prince William County. There is need to promote clean waterways in order to talk about water quality. The following graphs show the amount of debris that has been intercepted from entering the Chesapeake Bay from Prince William County under its Adopt a Stream, Adopt a Pond, Adopt a River programs. It also shows the number of volunteers that have engaged in the program from 2016 to 2021. And from the graphs, you can see a big dent in 2020 as a result of COVID-19 pandemic. Looking at the leader cleanup map for the Adopt the Stream program, where the green spots show sites that have been adopted and the orange spots show sites that need to be adopted, we can see that there is a growing need for more cleanups in the Woodbridge area, which also show a high socioeconomic percentile from the EJ screen map. This is the trend of water quality in a fast urbanizing community like Prince William County. There is need to talk more about water pollution when it comes to water quality. This takes us to equity, diversity, and inclusion. Water quality monitoring in Prince William County falls under the context of community-based natural resources management, where increased participation is needed to improve lives and to promote sustainable management of natural resources. And in this case, we're talking about our water quality. What is equity in the first place? The definition of equity in community natural resource management has been a challenge. Equity, a 4-year research in a book, Hanging in the Balance, Equity in Community Natural Resources Management, has defined equity in fair share terms. That equity refers to economic and political scene in the allocation, distribution, and influences in decision making. But equity also refers to the relationships between different levels, roles, and conflicts between and intergenerational. On the term fair share, who sets the benchmarks? Who decides what a fair share is? This therefore leaves the definitions to be culturally determined, where other groups, be it gender, race, might be excluded depending on the cultural views. Which then takes us to diversity. What is diversity in the context of natural resources management? As defined by global diversity practice, In a nutshell, diversity is about empowering people by respecting and appreciating what makes them different in terms of age, gender, ethnicity, religion, disability, sexual orientation, education, and national origin. Then, what is inclusion in this context? Global diversity practice further states that inclusion is appreciating our differences, efforts, and practices that accepts and welcome individuals regardless of cultural or social background. What hinders underrepresented groups from engaging in community science opportunities in Prince William County? More especially from these high socioeconomic percentile areas, as shown by the map from EPA. In terms of underrepresented groups in this context, I think of Native Americans, though they are very insignificant in number in this area of Prince William County. But I have had the opportunity to do water quality monitoring with one who came all the way from Loudoun County, which was a wonderful experience. I also think about born African Americans and another group, immigrants. All these groups of people have some historical, social, and cultural backgrounds. As a result, they have their challenges. This may be as a group, this may be personal, or as individuals. What could be some of the challenges of folks from these groups? Some pullbacks from developing the interests in community science events could be that parents need to work for longer hours to meet family needs. Parents have no time to help connect their children to science through community events. Language and cultural differences may lead to withdrawal, both from the side of parents or kids. For those who have even developed the interest, some of them lack a mentor or a role model, which may go to be a generational trend because they don't have an icon that they can emulate from. They may face social isolation or rejection. Most often, they will need to prove themselves before being accepted. Even when accepted, they may still face other personal and individual challenges. As a result, it takes us to implicit bias. Implicit bias refers to attitudes, stereotypes, and beliefs that can affect how we treat others. Implicit bias is not intentional, but it can still impact how we judge others based on factors such as race, attitude, ability, gender, culture, and language. And why there is need for a change in mentality, especially in a county like Prince William County, where young people, those under the age of 18, are more diverse than the overall population. We need a change of mentality in the different community sectors. The school and educational sectors should give every student the opportunity based on intelligence, technicality, and merit. Governments, cooperative, and other science sectors should work on eliminating implicit bias, be it ability, race, language, gender, you name it. Many sectors are already working on this, but more still needs to be done. Businesses and private business owners should also promote intelligence, technicality, and merit among employees. This will foster development in our community, tapping from the diversity population that we have, especially here in Prince William County. To help in this slide, the Prince William Soil and Water Conservation District's water quality programs work and connects with underrepresented groups. This could be seen as one of our missions in promoting water quality awareness, especially in the urbanizing areas of Prince William County. We have connected with groups like the American Nepal Society, and this group has adopted a site for water quality monitoring. The Conservation District has also connected with Congregation Ner Shalom, which is a Jewish community. It has also connected with the Pellets, Amisets, Achonets of the Zeta Phi Beta sorority, which is an African American group, mainly women group. The Prince William Soil and Water Conservation District, therefore, welcomes diversity and is working on promoting earth and conservation science in Prince William County and its communities. The successes of the Prince William Soil and Water Conservation District's water quality program work in line with the principles stated by Early and Thomas in the book Cultural Diversity at Work. Overall, inclusive diversity management practices that acknowledge, support, and integrate difference within the community and promote full and equitable participation of all members tend to yield the greatest organizational benefits. Water quality and science have no boundaries. Community water quality monitoring promote healthy and sustainable communities in Prince William County and the Chesapeake Bay. Therefore, there is need to promote science around the management of natural resources. There is need to promote environmental sustainable development goals. With the acknowledgement of our diversities through inclusion, much will be achieved, especially with the growing concerns around climate change in today's fast-changing environment. Thank you for being part of this JEDI working group webinar. And I will be happy or glad for us to have questions and more discussions around this topic. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Veronica. That was an excellent presentation.
Yes.
Yes, for the next few minutes, I invite anyone to ask Veronica questions. You can unmute, you can raise your hand using the reactions icon. Or you can type your question into the chat and I can read that for you. And Veronica, I wanted to tell you that I really resonated with kind of what you said about the challenges of families and parents being able to connect their children to community science events. I know that when I was growing up, I definitely was lacking a mentor or role model in natural resource management. It wasn't until I was in college that I even thought that, you know, natural resources or ecology in general could be a career path. I didn't know that was an option. So it's, I really resonated with that. And it's great that you're providing these opportunities for young people to get engaged.
Thank you, Sylvia.
Yes, there's a hand raised. Please go ahead.
Hi, yeah, this is Jenny. Veronica, thanks for your presentation.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so my question is about, you mentioned connecting with a variety of different groups to get as many people in the community involved that you could. And I was curious if you could talk a little bit about like, how do you identify groups and connect with them and get them like interested in participating in some of the activities that your group pulls together?
Prince William County being what it is with its demographics, and I think the need for some of such groups to have an environment where their children can have exposure to science, tend to find out about the conservation district, and they approach the district. So most often I have them coming to ask where the district can come in to support their group, not the district going out to look for them. So the district tends to be like the attraction that tends to make some groups feel comfortable or feel like engaging in what we're doing, especially when it comes to water quality awareness in Prince William County.
Thanks for sharing. That's really interesting. It sounds like your conservation district has provided like some activities that make the community excited to get involved in them. And maybe do people hear about it through word of mouth, maybe between the different groups, and that's why they end up reaching out to you all?
Well, with the background of the conservation district's water quality program, I should say I was born and raised in Cameroon, and I studied in Sweden. And when I came to Prince William County, I noticed that much attention wasn't given around your streams. And so actually I started as a volunteer proposing to start something like this. And eventually the conservation district gave me a place and that platform. So it's just something that started in 2016 and it has grown this much. So I hope that answers your question. Maybe they also needed, or other folks, they've been seeing something, they've been noticing that something needs to be done. And eventually they got a place where they can all come in to support the goals of the county.
Interesting. Thanks so much for sharing. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Next hand I see is Sunny.
Yes. Okay. What I wanted to say was that so in the Black community, there are 9, identified fraternities that are they're called the Divine Nine. That's what we call it. And in about 2 weeks, we're gonna have some headway into them because each group has, whether they're male or female, have their mentor. Little groups for the kids at different levels. So in about 2 weeks, we're going to be, because of one of the other monitors, Jahara, we're going to be putting on a monitor, a water monitoring for them. And so I see in the next, plus we're going to be doing another event, a cleanup event, which they come to. So we're going to be really in the next, by the end of the month, we're going to be pretty much tapping into them. So whether or not, we make any, headway with the others is one thing, but I'm optimistic.
Thank you for sharing, Sunny.
You happy?
Veronica, what are some of the reactions you get when you work with these groups? Like, you show them how to sample macroinvertebrates in a stream. Like, what is their reaction? Do they get grossed out by it? Are they really interested? I'm sure they have lots of fun.
One thing that I've noticed is the intensity at which some of the kids tend to freak out when they come across organisms like hellgrammites.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't blame them for that. I'm saying this more with the underrepresented groups, the minority groups. I think more of that is because they didn't have that opportunity to be exposed to such environments compared to other kids who have had that opportunity, maybe through scout groups, or maybe having their parents taking them out for hiking or fishing. And compared to those other group of students, seeing hellgrammite is something that they've never seen, and that alone is the reaction. And with the program, we don't only show them how to monitor all the different organisms that come out from the streams, but we also try to teach them about what a watershed is. How does it affect everybody? How is it related to the water we drink? And more especially in Prince William County, where most part of the drinking water comes from the Occoquan Reservoir, which is a river or a site that most of the streams drain into. So having that connection with any streams that they have, be it in your backyard or any that they come across, having that that connection, that it all goes to the Occoquan River and to the Potomac River, and how your drinking water comes about, it makes them more excited and try to relate with what we're trying to teach.
Oh, one more thing. I think they're excited about the cool of the bugs, but don't see the impact of the bug's relationship, the invertebrate's relationship to the stream, as well as the quality of the stream, until the end, until they say, well, okay, if you have more of this, then it could mean that there's some problems going on with the stream.
You're right, Sonny. And that alone, to add to that, they also tend to know that depending on what species of benthic macroinvertebrate that they can find from a stream, it also determines how polluted that stream is. And where we do have mostly built up areas like the urban areas, you don't have that excitement, or it's more like a dead stream. So they tend to learn about that. And, that's why we are here, to have that conversation going and to get more folks involved and to know how to best protect our waterways and our water quality.
Excellent. I see a hand raised by Antonio. Please go ahead and unmute.
Hi, thank you so much for this presentation. It's great to hear about experiences and your work in this. I'm sorry if you may have addressed this, joined in a little late, but have you seen any unexpected and solutions that have come out from the power within the community, kind of when you're working with the different groups and because community they know they're the experts of their own community, and so you're building in this other knowledge base, and maybe some unexpected solutions have been devised. So I was wondering if you could touch on any of that.
As I mentioned during my presentation, we cannot talk about water quality when we have a lot of leader in our streams. And the connection of this program from the graphs that I showed, you can see that overall in the county, there has been an exponential rise in the number of cleanup events. So that alone, I think, is something that is a plus for the community, helping the community to know that, they have to recycle, they have to reuse, they don't just have to dispose your litter like that, because in one way or the other, it ends up in the stream, and that gets into the waterways and eventually goes through where they get their drinking water. So that alone, I think, is something that, the community is engaging in, and you can see that from the graph. So having that in place and also coming in with the chemical monitoring program, there are other exciting things that the community, may want to see, but it's all about budgeting. But with the trend of the program, we hope and we believe that many exciting things will follow that will help the community in general.
All right, there's a question in the chat by Sally Cook. Such an excellent program and presentation, Veronica. These types of efforts are so important at the local level. Do you coordinate with other adjacent conservation districts to get a bigger picture of water quality, for example, upstream and downstream?
The conservation district, if you see the map of Virginia, you have the Nova, which is the northern section close to Washington, D.C. Yes, the Prince William Soil and Water Conservation District works closely with the Fairfax Soil and Water Conservation District. So sometimes we have joint events in certifying water quality monitors. And the trend of the program has been growing both in Prince William County and Fairfax County and even Loudoun County, because we have this network of, having this partnership in what we do.
Can you talk a little bit more about the certifying water quality monitors? How does that work?
In order to identify the critters that determine a good water quality, certified volunteers need to lead in every monitoring session. So the certification program is under the Isaac Wharton League of America, which is also connected to the Virginia Save Our Stream programs. And because this data goes to DEQ, that is the Department of Environmental Quality under its citizen science program, DEQ cannot just accept any data from any citizen, except it is led by a certified monitor. So in the process of certification, these volunteers, they do have a written test and a practical test where they have to follow the DEQ protocol in water quality monitoring. And then when they pass the test, then they can adopt a side. And here in Prince William County, we ensure that once a volunteer is certified, we have to monitor the way he or she is monitoring in the field before we allow him or her to monitor all alone. So this tends to support the quality assurance of the data that we collect. So this is why we do have the certification going on around our benthic macroinvertebrates, so you can be able to identify the critters correctly. And then for the chemical monitoring probe, the office does most of the calibration, and volunteers, they take the probe, the water meter to the field and just take the readings once the screen is stabilized. So, and we do have some in training when it comes to that as well.
Thank you for explaining that. I was wondering if you had any advice for other groups who want to do something like you did, you know, develop a program like this, or maybe expand the program that already exists and try to be more inclusive and reach more diverse groups. Do you have any words of wisdom?
Well, I think in as much as we talk about the environment and looking the globe as large as it is, every individual is just a tiny particle or tiny piece on the globe. And whatever thing you're doing, it's your own little way of contributing to the natural environment. And we should all have in mind that no single individual can change the planet. And when we are in a community, there is need for groups to work together, especially on topics that are common. That way they can focus their energy together in having a solution to a common problem. What I mean here is that when there is let me say water quality, and we have the Virginia Save Our Stream programs, we may have other programs, which is good, but it's always good for these programs to have some center that guides them in what you're doing, such that they should have a focus. And in a community or in a place where we miss out in having that focus, nothing much will be attained. So working together is a goal when it comes to the natural environment. Partnership, you know, building that team effort in getting solutions to problems in the community. I think it's something that every community should encourage.
Very well said. Thank you, Veronica. I don't see any more questions in the chat or hand raised. Let me just check one more time here. So thank you so much again, Veronica. The next webinar will be in early May. We will be announcing the speakers and topic very soon. If you would like to be a speaker or want to nominate someone, please contact us at wqjedi@gmail.com. I'll put that in the chat here. And yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for spending this hour with us. And again, thank you, Veronica, for the excellent presentation. And I hope everyone, thank you. And I hope everyone has a great rest of your day.